Welcome to the first episode of Beyond Stories with Chris Hall. This is a podcast about legends, their legacies, and how they became great mentors in their careers. Today, I have the opportunity to talk to Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler. We talk about Steve's amazing 32-year career working in the WWE. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Chris. Great to be on your podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have over a 32-year career with the WWE, and I'm sure you've got so many stories you could tell. But let's start out with basically, what was your journey like to become a wrestler?
Well, actually, I had no real intentions as a young child to be a wrestler. My brothers and I were always into bodybuilding.
Okay.
So we would always be into Arnold Schwarzenegger, Franco Colombo, and then we had wrestling on television in Brooklyn, but it was all in Spanish, the commentary. It was called Lucha Libre. So what we were watching the wrestling for was the bodies. I always emulated Bruno Sammartino. My older brother always emulated superstar Billy Graham. And we were working out, so I concentrated on working out my chest really hard, so my chest became my strong part.
Okay.
And my brother always emulated superstar Billy Graham, and he had big. His biceps got very big because he was trying to emulate superstar Billy Graham.
Sure.
The funny thing was, we're sitting in the backyard, we're looking at all these wrestling magazines. We had Chief Jay Strongbow. We had the Valiant Brothers. We had Bruno Sammartino. We had superstar Billy Graham. We're looking at all these pictures, but we're looking at, and then we're watching them on Lucha Libre. I never realized later in my life I would wrestle every single one of them at the end of their career as I began.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's awesome. What was your family's response basically when you told them you were going to start wrestling?
When I told my family I was going to be a wrestler, they thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
My father's exact words were, "How the hell do you think you're going to make a living doing this?" He wasn't really on board. He thought it was like a foolish decision.
Sure. What stands out the most to you? Like, what are you most proud of with your career? I mean, obviously that's an awesome legacy there at WWE. Not many people can say that. You know, you're one of a few.
Well, the way it all started was somebody gave me tickets to Madison Square Garden. I was in college.
Okay.
I was going to be a medical technologist. I had a 3-hour gap in between my classes, so I got a part-time job in a local supermarket, and I became a dairy manager. Now, I had a bunch of friends in the supermarket. Somebody gave me tickets to Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
6 tickets.
Wow.
So I said to my friends, I never seen a wrestling match live ever. Are you guys on board? You want to all go to Madison Square Garden?
Sure.
They all went for it. We went to Madison Square Garden. We had great seats. They were like 6 or 7 rows from the ring. I've never seen it before, but as soon as I seen it, I was mesmerized. The guy next to me said to me, "I can tell this was the first match you were ever at."
Really?
I said, "How do you know this?" He says, "I could tell by your reaction and your excitement." He says, "If you want to meet these wrestlers, they go to this bar. It's called the Savoy. It's about 4 or 5 blocks from here. If you wait about 30 to 40 minutes after the matches are over and you go in the bar, you can meet 5 or 6 of them. They'll all be in there."
Huh.
I told my friends, "You want to go for it?" They all went for it.
Nice.
So by the time we got out of Madison Square Garden, which held about 22,000 people, we walked slow. We walked out to the Savoy. As I'm walking down the block of the Savoy, I see a big 300-pound wrestler walk out, taking a piss in the street, wide open in front of everybody. I said to my friends, "Oh boy, this is going to be rough."
Sure.
So we walk into the bar. I see Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Oh, wow.
Arnold Skolin, Mr. Fuji, Bob Orton Jr., which is Randy Orton's father. And I see all these wrestlers sitting around. And me, I walk in, I'm saying, "Holy cow, I just seen these guys in front of 22,000 people." So I walk up to Mr. Fuji. He was talking to Arnold Skolin. And I said, "This was my first match. I've never seen it before, and I really, really enjoyed it." His response was, "Get away from me, kid, we're talking." I said, "Oh shit, there's strike one." I just got a lot of heat with him. He doesn't like me, because there's like fans coming up to him. So I go sit next to in the bar, two stools away from Jimmy Snuka.
Okay.
So my friends, they're all sitting, they're walking around with drinks and this and that. So I talked to Jimmy Snuka. I say, "Mr. Snuka, I really enjoyed watching you tonight." He goes, and he talked like this. He goes, "Brother, that's a privilege to have you watch me." I said, "Jimmy, let me ask you a question." He goes, "Anything, brother." I says, "What if I wanted to become a wrestler? What would I have to do?" He goes, "Brother, if it's in your heart, you could do anything that you want to do. If you want it with all your heart, go for it." And that kind of lifted my morale up to do it.
Yep.
So after I did that, I started going to the matches. And the Garden was running every single month because I was living in Brooklyn.
Okay.
So I started going to the show every month with different friends. And I went to the Savoy every time. And I kept bugging them and bugging them and bugging them. And then Arnold Skolin, he says to Mr. Fuji, I went up to Arnold. I said, "Arnold, I really want to try this. I think I could do it."
Okay.
He goes to Mr. Fuji, there's a special thing that wrestlers do. They talk Carney.
Sure.
It's like a Z. Have you heard of that before?
Yeah,
Carney?
the kayfabe kind of thing.
Yeah, the Z talk.
Yep.
This guy wants to be a real wrestler. That means this guy wants to be a wrestler.
I gotcha.
He laughs. Arnold Skolin goes, "Okay, kid, I'll tell you what. You go get experience and then come back." I said, "Yes, sir." I was very respectful, and I said to myself, "How am I going to get experience?"
Sure.
So a light bulb went up in my head. I enrolled. I didn't enroll in the college. I enrolled in a judo class in the college. So I took judo for 6 months, but I kept going to the Garden, and I kept meeting these guys every day. They started to know me now.
Sure.
Now they're calling me Steve because they know me now.
Yeah.
So 6 months pass. I said, "Mr. Skolin, you told me to go get experience." I says, "I took judo for 6 months. They taught me holds. They taught me this. They taught me that. The judo teacher told me to get lost because I took him down, double-legged him, and I held him down with my arm on his throat." He says, "That is not what I taught you. That is not the procedure I taught you." I showed him a wrestling magazine, judo teacher. The wrestling magazine had 2 wrestlers on the cover in a move called an abdominal stretch. Do you know what that is?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And he goes, "I think that you better go to your friends who are in professional wrestling because this is not the procedures we use."
Okay.
So I quit the judo. I went back. I went to Arnold Skolin. I said, "Arnold, I manhandled this guy like it was nothing." I says, "I would like an opportunity." He said, "Kid, show up in Shirley, Long Island. And just show up and we'll see what we could do." I said, "Oh my God, the door is open now."
Yeah.
So Shirley ran like in about 3 weeks. Shirley, Long Island was about maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours from Brooklyn.
Okay.
I go up to Shirley, Long Island. I walk in like I'm a wrestler, so I was pretty big, I was about 230 pounds, 225.
Okay.
They let me in thinking I was one of them.
Sure.
I'm sitting in the audience. So now all the wrestlers are walking in. Everybody, Mr. Saito, Mr. Fuji, Ray Stevens. These are all names that I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I'm a little bit, yeah. Mr. Fuji especially.
Yeah, Mr. Fuji. So Arnold Skolin walks by me like he doesn't even know me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he must have 1 million people come up to him. I go, "Mr. Skolin, do you remember talking to me?" He goes, "Yeah, you're the kid who comes to the Savoy all the time." I said, "Yeah, you told me to show up in Shirley, Long Island." So then I hear the Carney talk again to all the wrestlers. He's talking to 3 wrestlers at one time: Mr. Fuji, Ray Stevens, Snuka was in there too. Snuka and Mrs. Saito was sitting outside watching.
Okay.
He told me, run into one, let him body slam you. Run into another, and then get up off the body slam, run into the other guy, let him body slam you. Run into the other guy, just keep going around until I tell you to stop.
Sure.
I must have took at least 10 body slams.
Oh, wow.
So now, Mr. Fuji and them get out. They're all laughing now on the outside. So Mr. Fuji, Snooker, Ray Stevens, and all of them, they walk out of the ring. I start to get out. And Skolin goes, not you, kid. You stay in the ring. then he talks Carney to Mr. Saito, who was a killer. Mr. Saito was legitimately a killer. He tells him, get in the ring and Carney. He says, teach the guy a lesson.
Okay.
Now, I didn't know what he was saying because I did not understand Carney.
Sure.
He gets in the ring. He grabs me in a belly-to-belly, which I don't know if you're familiar with that move.
Yes.
My belly touches his. He locks one arm, and my other arm stays free. He suplexes me in a belly-to-belly, and I hit the ground. He says to Arnold Skolin, heavy. Me, I thought it was a compliment.
Okay.
Because I was big, I wanted to be muscular. I thought he said, wow, this guy's big, he's heavy.
Sure.
But what he was saying is he was very heavy to pick up. You know, he wasn't helping me. He didn't know nothing about it. So basically I said to myself, this shit hurts. My back is killing me.
Sure.
But I was persistent. I kept going and going and going. So I got out. Skolin goes, how'd you like it, kid? I said, I love it, Artie. I don't want to give up. I want to keep going. I want this. And he goes, okay. Show up in this other town. It's another town in New York. I think it was Birmingham, something like that. He put me against my first match against SD Special Delivery Jones. Now, I have no experience. All I had was the judo. All I had was the slams.
Sure.
And all I had was the belly-to-belly from Mr. Saito. So I had no wrestling boots. I had nothing. SD Jones had some extra boots, and he gave them to me, and he had tights.
Okay.
I put them on. I walk out to wrestle SD Jones. I'm stage fright. It was only about 300 or 400 people because it was a small arena.
Okay.
I walk out. I freeze. I'm frozen. And SD's like, relax, calm down. You know what I mean? We got through it. Give me a headbutt. I know how to take a back bump. You know, this and that. So that was my first introduction to a professional match in front of an audience.
Wow.
So now they have TV tapings in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Reading, Pennsylvania, every 3 weeks, and they would film 3 hours of television, and the 3 hours would be 3 weeks.
Okay.
But yet, the people in the building of Allentown and Reading would just see me come out 3 times. So I wasn't on the booking sheet yet, but I would keep showing up at the TV tapings. So then they decided to throw me in the ring.
Okay.
They throw me in the ring with Ivan Koloff.
Okay.
He was like the Russian bear. He was a killer. He walked in. He beat the living shit out of me. So I was actually getting training by getting beat up legitimately, and it hurt.
Sure.
That's when people they think it's fake. It's not fake.
Yeah.
You cannot fake gravity.
Exactly. Yeah, and that mat is not soft.
He beat the hell out of me, and now I'm wind up getting beat up every 3 weeks. 2 days every 3 weeks, and I'm going out 3 times. I'm getting beat up by Paul Orndorff. I'm getting beat up by Iron Sheik. I'm getting beat up by Roddy Piper. Oh. Now, the funny part about it all was the people in Allentown in the building were acting like I was invincible, because how can I take all these moves and the finishes from all these guys and keep coming out?
Keep going, yeah.
So they say, this guy is an animal. He just keeps coming out. And I said, I wasn't thinking that at all at the time. I was just thinking, this is killing me. This is killing me.
Sure.
And the breaking point of the thing where it really started coming together was they used to put like a paper on the wall, like who you're facing. All of a sudden, Ricky Steamboat is starting in the company. He's coming from Charlotte.
Okay.
Now, Ricky Steamboat was a very big star in Charlotte. So it said, Ricky Steamboat against Steve Lombardi. I said, holy shit, this is going to be something else.
Yeah.
Another guy was going to beat the hell out of me. So I woke up to him. I go, Mr. Steamboat, my name is Steve Lombardi. I'm apparently wrestling you tonight. He goes, nice to meet you, Steve. He goes, but I want to tell you one thing. I do not beat up a dish rag. I am not going to go in there and just beat the hell out of you. I'm going to give you offense.
Okay.
So now Ricky Steamboat actually made me look fantastic. It was the first time he ever threw me in. I reversed threw him in, give him an elbow, he takes the bump, go to throw him in, reverses me. Then I went under him for a leapfrog, and then he does something else to me, and it was a competitive match. He made it a competitive match.
Back and forth, you guys both got to get your spots in. Sure.
He made me look like I've been wrestling for years.
Wow.
Now all the other wrestlers seen this because all the wrestlers would watch each other while they were out there.
Okay.
So I was like, holy shit, that's the best match I've had in my life. I walked to the back. I'll never forget Tito Santana. He goes, how did it feel? And I'm saying to myself, how did it feel? It's the best moment I've had so far in wrestling. and then after that, they realized the kid could be led. He could be led. So now all the wrestlers, not all of them, but most of them started giving me offense.
Sure.
I'm getting more and more offense. Now time is passing. 6 months, 8 months. Now I'm starting to get better and better because I'm learning offensive moves and I'm getting better in the ring. But I'm still Steve Lombardi, green, the youngest guy in the dressing room. And then less than a year later, I got a break. I'm wrestling in Madison Square Garden against Mad Dog Vachon.
Oh, wow.
First match in the Garden. Now, if you remember Mad Dog Vachon, he used to hit with chairs, and he would take your mouth and put his fingers in both sides of your mouth and stretch your mouth open.
Yep.
And he beat the living shit out of me.
Okay.
You know, but it was still Madison Square Garden.
What was that feeling like compared to like when you first saw your first match there to actually walking out? That must have been just amazing.
What people don't understand is the anxiety of just walking down the ramp in front of 20,000 people.
Sure.
Will get you winded just from the anxiety of what you're doing and where you are. And my whole goal in life was to wrestle at Madison Square Garden just one time. That's why that was my pinnacle of my career, I would think.
Yep.
It turns out, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. It turns out in 32 years, I wrestled in Madison Square Garden 52 times.
Oh, wow.
So now I'm getting more and more and more experience. Now I'm on the booking sheet, which means you get a sheet that they give you the towns you're in, the day you're in, you know, the date that you're there, you know, and it just goes down. It's all handwritten on a piece of paper, and everybody gets one.
So it's like your schedule, basically.
And my name is on there.
Yep.
Regularly.
Wow.
Now it's unreal, but I'm still working in the supermarket. So I said to the supermarket, I told a lie. I said, I got to be out for a while. I broke my leg.
Okay.
They said, okay, take all the time you can. You'll be paid. And as soon as you're able to come back, let us know, and we'll bring you back. So now I said, holy shit, I can wrestle full time now. I could actually fulfill the booking sheet, go to all TV tapings, and the supermarket is still paying me a check every single week.
Sure.
I remember what it was. It was $247 a week back then.
Oh, wow.
Talking 1982 or 3. So I get a phone call from about 3 months later from the manager of the supermarket. He goes, this is so-and-so. I don't want to say names or supermarket names.
Sure.
He says, I have to ask you a question. How's your leg doing? Are you getting better? I said, it's coming along slowly. His response was, I could tell it's coming along when I seen you in the camel clutch with Iron Sheik on television. And he goes, I regret to tell you this, you're fired.
Oh, wow.
And I said to myself, great, I'm a full-time wrestler now.
Yep.
So now I'm on the booking sheet. I'm traveling. The first plane ticket I got was to Pittsburgh, because it was a Northeast territory. It was all like Washington, Albany, Maryland. I could drive everything out of Brooklyn.
Okay.
So I'm working there. But now we did Saturday Night Main Event. That was the first one ever. That was taking risks to go national, where Vince was going to step on all the promoters, step on their territories.
Exactly. Make his show number one, obviously, over everything. Yep.
That's what he wanted to, but he didn't know how it was going to work out.
Sure.
So we started doing that. I started flying. I was never even on a plane. I was on a plane when I was a kid. My parents took me to Disney World, but that was about it.
Okay.
So now I'm flying all over the place. I started in Pittsburgh, and they flew me somewhere else, but I'm still doing the Northeast territory. So now my name is Steve Lombardi. Now, this went on for 5 years as Steve Lombardi.
Okay.
Now I'm becoming not polished, but good enough to where they don't think I'm green.
Sure.
So who comes up to me? Bobby Heenan. He says to me, "Hey kid, now that you know how to wrestle, now I'm going to teach you how to make money."
Okay.
He had a stable back then. He had Andre the Giant. He had Mr. Perfect. He had Rick Rude. He had King Kong Bundy. And that was the Heenan family, correct? He came up with the name Brooklyn Brawler.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bobby Heenan. So now he says all my guys are busy, and I'm having an issue with Terry Taylor, who they call the Red Rooster, but I have nobody for him to work with.
Okay.
He says, so I'm going to bring you into my stable, and you will be his opponent.
Oh.
So that's where it all came about, where they introduced me, and I knocked out Gorilla Monsoon. You remember that with the stool?
Yep.
And we took over the show. And now Steve Lombardi is dead. Jesse Ventura was doing the commentation with Vince. And Bobby says, I'm going to take a ham and egg, a nobody, and make him a star. And that was me.
I gotcha.
So I remember Jesse Ventura said to Vince, well, Vince, if Bobby Heenan can make Steve Lombardi a star, will you forget these words that you say that Bobby Heenan's words are all false? And he goes, I will. So then all of a sudden I become a monster. I'm a big killer. I made my finish a superplex.
Okay.
That's where you put the guy up on the top and you suplex him off the top.
Yep.
And I'm giving them no offense, just beating the hell out of it. Bobby's on the outside of the apron saying, hit him, slap him, do this, do that. And then Jesse Ventura says to Vince, he is no longer Steve Lombardi. He is now the Brooklyn Brawler. and that's where it started.
That was
Bobby
the first
Heenan
time.
came out everywhere with me as the Brooklyn Brawler.
Okay.
And I haven't lost a match from that point on for at least 8 months because Bobby's with me. And I became Superman.
Sure.
And all I did was put a hat on, and then Bobby told me, I want you to wear ripped up clothes, and I want you to wear a Yankee shirt because people hate the Yankees in Brooklyn.
Yes.
They like the Mets.
Yep.
So then I remember Hershey, Pennsylvania. He says, come in the back. He says, you see that mud right there? I want you to lay down and roll around in it. I said, Bobby, are you out of your mind? He goes, I want you to be grungy. I want you to be dirty. I want you to walk out like a guy from the streets.
Sure.
He goes, and then all of a sudden I'm on Brother Love. And my career starts taking off now.
Yep.
Now when I'm with Bobby, all of a sudden I'm working 17 days a month.
Oh, wow.
I've taken 2 to 4 planes a week. My whole career, I've taken 2 to 4 planes a week for 17 years to wrestle. Then, after I became established with all that, now I'm a regular wrestler. Now I'm on the card. I'm known like everybody else is known. I'm on TV every week. The people in Allentown and Reading think I'm the strongest wrestler that ever lived. You know what I mean? Because I can keep coming out one after the other.
Sure.
I just keep coming back. And always winning.
Yep.
Always winning. And then I did that for 15. I wrestled for 17 years. Then they put me into production, as a Brooklyn Brawler, after a while, they started making him lose a little bit. Then Bobby stopped coming out with me.
Sure.
So they put me in charge of what was called a pre-tape room. I was in charge of interviews.
So you transitioned from being in the ring to be backstage?
Yeah, I was backstage.
Okay.
But being backstage, they would always bring me out as a novelty because they would always remember Brooklyn Brawler. Like when I beat Triple H.
Yep.
That was a novelty. I wrestled, and then the Ultimate Warrior comes in. He was the Dingo Warrior. They weren't even giving him a second look. You know, they put him in the ring with me 47 consecutive days in a row. He knocked me out twice.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was tough.
So he was green.
He was green like I was in the beginning.
Yep. Okay.
So he knocked me out, and then one time they said to me, "We're going to have you beat Ultimate Warrior, but don't tell him because we want to test his attitude because we see money in the guy, but we want to see how his attitude is."
Sure.
So I didn't tell anybody this until after I left the company. We called him Jim then. He was Dingo Warrior. It was Jim Hellwood.
Jim Hellwood, yep.
I said, "Jim, come in this room. I want to talk to you for a minute." I says, "They're going to come up to you and they're going to say, Brooklyn Brawler goes over, which means Brooklyn Brawler wins. I want you to say, yes, anything you want, because they're testing your attitude."
They wanted to see if you would do it?
I wasn't supposed to do that.
Sure.
And then, which almost backfired on me. Because Ultimate Warrior, he wrestled there for years and years, but then the company was on the outs with him, and I made a video. I produced a video. The demise of the Ultimate Warrior. Everybody talked bad about him.
Sure.
I wouldn't do it because I liked him and I talked good about him and I put myself on the video.
Sure.
So now Vince decides we're going to put the Ultimate Warrior in the Hall of Fame. Now, Ultimate Warrior made men's with Vince.
Yep.
Now, I walk into Ultimate Warrior's room at the Hall of Fame. He starts crying. He grabs me. He says, I can curse, right?
Yeah, you're fine, Steve, yep.
He goes, "Fuck, I was just thinking about you, what you did for me." He goes, "And be prepared to stand up in the Hall of Fame because I'm going to tell the story about, I'm still working for WWE." He goes, "I'm going to tell the story about how you told me they were testing my attitude. And I should just say, yes, sir, anything you want to do." I said, "You can't do that, Jim, because I'm still working for the company." He goes, fuck, it was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I said, "Jim, please respect me. Don't do that, because then Vince is going to look at Jim Ross, and Jim Ross is going to look at Arnold Skull, and they're all going to say, we can't tell Lombardi nothing anymore."
Sure.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
He goes, "Okay, for you, I won't say it, but I'd be prepared to stand up anyway." So he made me stand up in the Hall of Fame, and he says, "Where's Steve Lombardi?" I stood up. He goes, "Steve took a lot of my abuse, and he always kept a good attitude, and I want to thank you for that." And that's all he said.
Sure.
And he sat down.
So in his own way.
But the thing about it was I took a picture with Ultimate Warrior, and 2 days later he was dead.
Yeah, it was so sad.
Did you see his interview?
Yes.
Before he died?
Yeah, when he was in the ring.
When the Warrior's heart stops beating, his legacy will last forever. Mm-hmm. That's what he said. Ironic, almost like he had a premonition.
Sure.
I mean, it sounds creepy, but that's the way it worked.
Yeah.
And then I just kept working and working and working. And years have passed and years have passed. And then Jericho's working in England. So now they come up with the idea Jericho's going to interfere with Mankind was GM. So he put me in a handicap match, Kai and me against Triple H.
Triple H, yeah.
So Triple H pedigrees both Kai and Tai, goes to pedigree me. Jericho comes in, runs in, bulldogs him, and he gives him the lion salt, and he gets out. The referee's down because Hunter pushed him, and he pretended to be knocked out. He did a moonsault, and then I jumped on him, and I beat him. 1, 2, 3. And then all I hear is Michael Cole going, "The Brooklyn Brawler just beat Triple H on SmackDown. I can't believe I'm saying this." And Jericho came to my house and he actually talked to me about this.
Sure.
Out right here at right where I'm living now, which I'm not going to mention.
Sure.
He and then they showed a vignette. He's looking at the Titan shot, and he's getting in Hunter's limousine. He tells Hunter's limousine driver, goes, Hunter said I could have his limousine for the night because he's not feeling very well. He just got beat by the Brooklyn Brawler. And he gets in the limousine, and the limousine pulls out. And then that's it. I beat Ultimate Warrior. I beat Triple H. I mean, I beat so many people that people don't even realize.
Sure.
And they always say, Brooklyn Brawler always lost. He always lost. He always lost. The only reason my longevity lasted is because I did whatever they asked me to do.
And you had the opportunity, Steve. You had a lot of like first matches for like The Rock.
Rock's first match. Yep. I had Mark Henry's first match. I had Ricky Steamboat's first match in WWE because he was already a wrestler. I had Bret Hart's first match it was WWF then, in WWF because he came from Calgary. I did the same with Owen Hart.
Oh, wow.
Every guy that first came in, they would always throw him with me. And if they did well with me and didn't kill me, they pushed him.
Sure.
I was a test. But they put me in with a lot of guys like bodybuilders and football players, and they did terrible, but they wouldn't make it. But It wasn't my fault. They couldn't move. They were robots. So
they basically, I mean, you got to, from where you started to where you were at, you basically became, like a mentor for them to teach them. So that is awesome. I mean, that's something, that nobody can say besides yourself because, I mean, just look at the...
No one could say it. No one could say they got my years, and no one could say they had first matches like me. Now, this is a good story.
Sure.
We're in Madison Square Garden. There's a battle royal. Ken Shamrock is going to win the battle royal. Ken Shamrock gets injured because he wrestled the match before the battle royal. And he gets injured. It's his sternum. His sternum in his chest?
Yes.
Like he fractured his sternum.
Oh, wow.
So all the agents walk into Vince's room, and I'm in the group. He goes, Vince, Shamrock cannot be in the battle royal. He can't go over. Vince puts his glasses to his nose. He looks up. He looks at me. He goes, put Brooklyn Brawler over. He's local. Forgetting that he advertised the winner of the battle royal will wrestle the world heavyweight champion at Madison Square Garden. I remembered it. I went in there, yes, sir, anything you want, sir. I went in. I won the battle royal. I came out. Now the champion is Bret Hart now.
Okay.
So I come out. I tell some of the road agents. They call them producers now, but they used to be called road agents. I said, do you realize that I just won a match that puts me in line to be a Wrestle World Heavyweight Championship? You're not going to get it. You'll never get it. No, not in a million years, you'll never get it. I knock on Vince's door. I go in. I go, Vince, I had no idea, but I just heard you advertised the winner of this battle royal wrestles the world champion in the next Madison Square Garden show. He looks at me. I expect to say it's not going to happen. He goes, you got your match. That's what he told me.
Really?
Now Bret Hart's the champ.
Okay.
Now, in between that Garden show and the next Garden show was Montreal's screw job.
Okay.
So the screw job is Shawn becomes champion because they screwed Bret.
Yep, and Bret leaves the company. Yep.
And Shawn back then was an asshole. And I just watched him on Peacock today, and he even admits I was very hard. I told Vince to go fuck himself, and I threw papers in his face. And so I'm sitting at a bar with Arnold Skolin, and Shawn's in there with Diesel, and then he goes, hey, Shawn, you wrestling next Garden show? He goes, who? He goes, right here, the Brooklyn Brawler. I said, I'm dead now. He goes, oh, my God, can you super kick? Can you leapfrog? Can you do this? Can you do that? He was like 110% into it.
Really?
Yeah, he gave me the greatest match of my entire life. He was kicking out on 2.5. And I had the match with Shawn Michaels. It was the first day of the origination of DX. China and Triple H were on the outside of the ring. Now, my whole family was there. It was 22,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to wrestle in Madison Square Garden again.
Wow.
But now for the World Heavyweight Championship, there's like a handful of people that can say that.
Sure.
So I got to do that. So now I go back to the pre-tape room. But the pre-tape room was good because I did like international reads. I did cold open You know what a cold open is?
I've never.
Okay,
No.
let me tell you what a cold
Sure.
open is. A cold open is when you're going to have a match in a pay-per-view, they give you a vignette of a story which led to that match. So what I would do is I would shoot. They would give me direction, and I would shoot like different shots of the guys, and like when it was Survivor Series, I had every wrestler in a V all together, and have them shoot it, and then they would put on the poster to be on the poster of the pay-per-view.
Okay.
And I would have the guys say different things about other things. It's called pre-tapes.
Okay.
I did that for years and years with no recognition because when the cold open came out, the guy who edited at the studio took the credit.
Sure.
And I said that in Jericho's thing too.
Yeah. Plus, there's no real credits. They don't really show like at the end of the shows anybody what people did.
I'm doing all the legwork.
Yeah.
One time when I did that thing and I had 25 wrestlers, and I'm talking about Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, I had them in a V. Like,
Okay.
in other words, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
all in a
So
V
that you could see everybody. Yep.
It took me hours to get him in there. My audio guy screwed up. We had no audio.
Oh wow.
So now I got to do it again. So now I got to go up to everybody humbly and see. Taker was easy. You go up to a guy like Steve Austin. You go up to a guy like Shawn Michaels. It's tough. But I got it done again. I got the audio right. Kevin Dunn wrote a letter to Jim Ross. Steve Lombardi went above and beyond his duty. You know what I mean? And I got it done. They all knew I was the best at what I did.
Sure. Did Kevin Dunn kind of help you get like acclimated with that kind of stuff? Because I mean, going from
no, Kevin Dunn was the big boss. He was the big technical boss. He was friendly with me and everything.
Sure.
We never talked like that.
Okay.
I would get faxes and emails from different department heads that edit it and put it together. Give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that.
Okay.
And then what they did was they had a thing where at the house shows, which is a non-televised event, you would do like a 3-minute take with people are saying, when I get out there tonight, this and that, this and that. And certain people didn't like it. Like John Cena hated it.
Sure.
Because he says, why do I want to ruin my pop by showing me myself on the video before I come out?
Sure.
So, I had a lot of stuff. And then, I did a lot of stuff. Remember 5 Questions with the Champ? Did you ever see that?
I did, yes. I've seen those with Cena. Yep.
Okay, so they give me a lot of things like that. I did something with Bradshaw. It was a political thing. I did thing with 5 Questions with the Champ. Now, Cena, he would always come in and he would curse. Oh, I got a blade. I shit the bed. I took a piss. I don't give a shit. I'm here now. And I would say, cut. I'm not having any curses on the show.
Sure.
Cena goes, leave it. I says, yeah, John, you won't get fired. I'll get fired. So he gets on his phone. He calls up the office. He says, at that time, American Idol was on.
Mm-hmm.
And remember when he used to put the thing over the guy's face?
Yes.
Okay. So they put a chroma key, which is, what a chroma key is, like a thing you put around you, and then you're against the blue screen, and you put blue around your whole body and just have your head. So they're taking shots of just my head. So every time Cena cursed, my face would come over his face and go, stuff like that.
Instead of the censor.
Now I want him to curse because I'm getting exposed like crazy.
Sure.
It was number one. The thing was doing so many hits, it was insane. But that was his idea. If I'm not going to curse, you're going to stop it with your face.
Didn't they actually make a T-shirt for that?
I got the T-shirt.
You do?
Go
okay.
fuck yourself. And my face is over to you.
That
was Cena's idea.
Sure.
Stephanie hated it. Stephanie goes, my father was in a vacuum when he approved that. But Cena could get anything he wanted because he was drawing money.
Sure.
But did you ever see the shirt?
I did, yes.
Oh, my God. Cena took 100 home because he loved it.
Did he? Wow.
Yeah, but it's such an interesting life. It was like a roller coaster. It was like when I was in my 20s and 30s, I loved it. You know what I mean? Because I was traveling.
Yep.
I wasn't before I was married. Once you get married, it gets different.
Yeah, life changes.
I took my wife on the road for the first 10 years, and it was wild. It was a wild ride. I remember my wife was so smart to the business. She was reading the book while I was wrestling. They told me to tell my wife not to read when I'm wrestling. You know, and it was funny. Like I'd have a guy in a hole and I'd wink at her in the first row. You know what I mean? Shit like that.
Yep.
But it was a ball. The '80s was fun. When it became corporate, it became different.
Sure.
You couldn't get away with nothing. But the ride was insane. The ride was insane. I mean, and then the ribs. Oh my God! There was one rib with Marty Jannetty from the Rockers.
Yep.
Jake the Snake had a snake.
Yep.
So
Damien.
They had a fish tank with live rats in it, and they would feed the snake. And the snake wouldn't travel with Jake; it would travel with WWE.
Okay.
So they would keep the snake in another tank, and they would throw a rat in there, and it would strangle it and swallow it. You know how to do. So there's about 25, 30 rats in the thing. So I see Marty Jannetty, real sinister. He was a real rib. He told the story a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in the room. He turned it upside down. All the rats scattered all over the arena, and it started disappearing and going into different cubby holes and everything.
Sure.
And then the company got some kind of extermination bill. You know
Wow.
what I mean? But I was guilty by being in the room with him. And he laughed about it all the time.
You took the heat for his
He always tells the story. And another thing he used to do, circuit breaker box. If the circuit breaker box was in view of the ring, he would wait till the guys did a high spot, which is where they're running across the ring and doing something. He would shut all the lights and the whole thing.
Oh, jeez.
You think that's bad? One time I was wrestling about an hour or two from here where I live, and when you wrestle, you have no control. You got to leave your bag and your clothes inside the dressing room.
Okay.
And the ribs were notorious. Kurt Hennig and Marty Jannetty, the Nasty Boys, all these guys. So I'm going home I'm by myself. My wife's in the car. I'm driving home. I stop at McDonald's. I get a hamburger. Then I feel something in my fucking pocket. I reach in, a dead white mouse in my pocket. I threw it out. Both my pockets had mice in it.
Jeez.
My bag was full of mice. I threw the hamburger out. I was sick. Like, you touch a mouse.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, the weirdest part about it is, what do they do? Buy mice and then kill them?
Yeah. Who got these? Yep.
I mean, these are kind of ribs. You would go to the ring, come back, and your bag was chained to like a heat pole, like a pole in the thing. You have to take the guy in the building, find a clipper, try to unclip it, and then leave. And you can always tell who the ribber is.
Sure.
The one that looks away the heart, like the one who's looking away the
Acts like nothing's going on.
Kurt Hennig was the one.
Was he?
He's the one who did the mice. I mean, but what kind of life is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Chief J. Strongbow used to say the inmates run the asylum.
I can imagine.
And you didn't get in trouble. Vince would laugh too. Mm-hmm. When it became corporate, the whole thing became different.
Okay.
You know, because now you're dealing with a board of directors, and he's the chairman of the board. And how do you explain about mice? How do you explain about this and that? But I still loved it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the ring. I enjoyed the life. The money was good. Everything. You know, it was a roller coaster. It really was. It really was. People never realized it. They watched the wrestling on TV. They never realized all this stuff was happening.
Sure, all the behind the scenes. Yeah.
Only the 80s. You know, once I forget the year it became public, but it all changed. And at the end, I was ready. I didn't want to do it no more. I was tired.
Sure.
I mean, 15 years in the pre-tape room, it was mental bumps. In the ring, it's physical bumps.
Sure.
When you take a fall, they call it a bump in wrestling. Mm-hmm. And the mental bumps are worse than the physical bumps.
Sure. I can see that wearing on your conscience.
Something goes wrong technically.
Yep.
You get your ass kicked.
Yeah, especially with
wrong in the ring.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Live.
Okay?
Yep.
You cover it up.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. People just don't realize all this stuff.
Yeah.
They really don't. And then, how about the other time? There was no cell phones at that time, so I'm using phone cards and all this stuff. So I called my mother up with a phone card. You remember phone cards?
Yep.
You dial like 10 numbers. Then
it's prepaid.
I said, I'm in the garden, but I'm going to come by the house. I got to bring a wrestler by the house. I want to see Brooklyn. Who is it? I'm not telling you. You won't even know him anyway. I brought Andre the Giant to my mother's house.
Oh, wow.
All I heard was it's a 2-story house. She was on the upstairs window, so when I pulled up, she could only see me in the driver's seat side. She didn't know who was in the passenger side.
Sure.
I get out. I go, hi. Andre gets out. All I hear is, oh my God. He was so polite to my mother, and he came in the house. He just acted so nice.
Sure.
You know? He wanted to go. He goes to me, boss, where you live? I said, I grew up in Brooklyn. Not far from me. He goes, take me. Just like that. I mean, Andre was a funny guy. He either liked you or he hated you. You know what he did when he used to get on a plane? He was always in first class. And so he would open the overhead. If there was bags right above his seat, he would take the bags out and put them in the middle of the aisle, put his bags in, and close it. The flight attendant would come up to him and say, sir. He wouldn't even acknowledge. He just looked forward. He wouldn't say a word.
Really?
But nobody was going to say, get off the
Sure.
plane. No, this is way before they got real strict on the airplanes and stuff.
Okay.
But Andre the Giant, nobody told him what to do. I mean, he was a big son of a bitch. I remember I had a couple of Sierra, and I had a big indentation in the top of my car after I drove Andre around for a while.
Just from him trying to stretch out and get comfortable.
Yeah, his head hit the top of the ceiling.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, you could put it back, but this guy was huge. He was 7'4", 500 pounds.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's
crazy. And he would drink wine before the match. He'd have a gallon of wine. And he always used to love a game called cribbage. You ever hear of cribbage?
I have, yep.
Yeah, that was his game. He loved that.
Huh.
So he'd play cribbage, drink wine, go right in the ring. And it's crazy. I think he drank a lot because he knew he was going to die young.
Sure.
Giant disease. He actually died at 46. He died at his father's funeral in Paris.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he went there and he died. Then he got cremated, and his ashes were thrown on his property. And it was Charlotte or somewhere down there. But he was a great guy. To me, he was a great guy.
Sure.
One time I worked with Eddie Gilbert, and he called a leapfrog. So I was in the beginning of my career. So I leapfrogged and he leapfrogged, but he wanted to leapfrog and he wanted underneath. But I got it wrong. So he made a big deal and started yelling at me in the dressing room and this and that and this and that. So the next town, a knock on the dressing room door was a big birthday cake. And the lady, it was a girl. She goes, oh, this is for Eddie Gilbert because it's his birthday. And I don't know what made me do this. I walked into the dressing room. I took the cake. I said, Eddie, some girl gave this to me. And I put the cake right in his face. And I pushed it in his face. He got up to fight. And Andre said, boss, sit down. You deserve. Oh, my God. This is crazy-ass stories, ain't they?
Yes, yeah.
But they're all true, every one of them.
Yeah.
I don't embellish at all. It's unbelievable.
You had the
Unbelievable.
you had the opportunity to travel down the road with Hulk Hogan too. What was that like?
Hulk, yeah. Okay, so Hulk just got off of Rocky III.
Okay.
You know, so he was like bigger than life. You know what I mean? You remember him when he was next to Sylvester Stallone and all that stuff?
Yep, when he was Thunder Lips in the movie.
He comes in the territory and Vince is going to push him to the moon, you know? So he couldn't go nowhere. I mean, he was on Sports Illustrated, the most recognizable athlete in the world. He was so popular back then.
Sure.
So he asked Vince. He told me, he didn't ask him. He said, I want Steve Lombardi to be with me everywhere. He goes, because back then, I could go to the ticket agent and say, I got Terry Bollay's ticket in line. And then we give both. You didn't need identification. You didn't need nothing back then.
Sure.
So I would always do the delay work with him. And that's actually how I met my wife.
Really?
She was renting limousines downtown Detroit, and me and Hulk were getting limousines anytime we went somewhere.
Okay.
So Hulk would stay back a little bit, but he would still be in view, and I would rent the limousines, and then every month we'd be running Joe Louis to Palace. I went to the Silver Dome I wrestled in.
Oh, wow.
So one day he goes, you know, brother, I know you dig that girl. Take the limo tonight and take her out. and that's how it happened. I told her, do you want to go out tonight? She goes, okay. I go 11 o'clock, 11:15, because the show ended like 11. Hulk was always the main event.
Sure.
You know? So I would always work the first match, and Hulk Hogan would always be in the main event.
Okay.
And plus, I did Kim Chi too. You know Kim Chi?
Yep.
Okay.
You were Kamala's handler, right?
This is before Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
So I would wrestle the first match as Brooklyn Brawler, and then the last match was Kamala was always at the main event. So I'm working twice a day. Twice a day.
Huh.
And for a while, I didn't get double pay until I bitched, and then they started giving me double pay.
Sure.
But the stories go on and on and on and on. It's insane.
That's amazing. I didn't know that's how you met your wife.
You can only hear it on your podcast now because it's insane. It really is.
No, I appreciate that, Steve. Yeah, it's...
No problem. I appreciate you having me on your podcast.
Yeah.
And anything else, ask me anything. I'll tell you anything.
Sure. Basically, like, what was an inspiration for you, like, once you got and you made it, you're done with the company, but what, like, inspires you to keep going? Because, I mean, right now, like, with your social media, at Real Brawler Real on Twitter, I mean, you're
160,000 for. I do nothing but inspiration.
Sure, and it's like I said, it's uplifting. My family and we follow you, and I really appreciate, like I said, you taking the time today.
And you know why John Cena followed you? Because I followed you.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah.
So I think me and John. I tried to find you the other day. I couldn't find you. You still on there?
I am. Yep, I'm still on there. Yep, actually,
Chris Hall.
It's I think it's the real Chris. I'd have to look at it again. I haven't, I'm not on there all the time. But
I don't know, but I do all everything's inspirational.
Sure.
I opened 2 gifts this morning.
Really?
Those gifts from my eyes.
I hear you.
I'm blessed. Things like that, you know what I mean? I don't even know what I said today. I said I'm grateful for everything that has ever happened in my life. Stuff like that.
Yep.
Did you see that picture that I put up?
I did. That is awesome. Yeah, thanks for letting me use that.
That's the picture I like.
Yeah.
It shows all my... the only one that don't show is the clown. Oh, the clown. That's a story.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I never did the clown. Matt Bourne was the clown. He was like the top bad guy in the company. So Matt Bourne got suspended or whatever reason.
Sure. And he was Doink, right?
My phone rings. Steve, Vince. Well, how you doing, Vince? Fine. Anything you need? I know it. I know that. I need you to fly to Calgary and wrestle Bret Hart in the World Heavyweight Championship. I said, I don't mind. I wrestled Bret Hart many times.
Uh-huh.
Then he goes, as Doink. I went, holy shit. I said, Vince, I have no problem wrestling Bret. I said, I never did the paint job. I have no outfit. I'll be willing to do it. He goes, I knew you were going to say that. He says, we're gonna fly you to Cleveland. Matt Bourne's wife's going to meet you at baggage claim. I think it was Cleveland. Yeah, Cleveland. Okay. And she's going to give you the outfit. Then you're going to get on the plane and fly to Stanford. Then you're going to go to Jill, the makeup girl. She's going to give you makeup and give you a diagram and teach you how to paint the Doink face.
Okay.
Then you're going to jump on a plane and you're going to go to Calgary. And then you're going to wrestle Bret in the main event. Is that a tall order?
Yeah. 3 different planes one day? Yeah.
It was a 2 days. It was a
2 days
deal.
Gotcha.
I did it. I did it. But the hardest part is trying to paint and Kurt Hennig bumping your arm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're trying to paint. All the boys, all rivers. But I did it. But it was so weird because I'm the Brooklyn Brawler. Yeah. But now I got to go from the real tough guy to
sure.
And when I walked out, oh my God, the heat, the hatred was so much for Doink. And then Bret, all I had to do is feed Bret, and have match with Bret.
Yeah. I
mean, that's the first thing with Doink. And then after that, I started going to Europe as Doink. I had great matches with the 1, 2, 3 Kid as Doink and as Abe Knuckleball Schwartz. Oh, Abe Knuckleball Schwartz. Did we talk about that yet?
No, yeah. That was basically your baseball. That was like when you had the baseball on your face. Yep.
Okay, I got the idea from the movie The Warriors.
Okay.
That?
Yep.
Okay. There was a wrestler called Damian Demento. Do you remember him?
I do not.
Okay. He was a mid-card wrestler, nice guy, bad guy, but great artist. I said to him, I gave him a napkin. I said, draw a picture of a face and make the face a baseball. So he drew a circle, he drew eyes and all this, and he drew the, the threads and all that.
Yep.
I knock on Vince's door. I show it to him. He looks at it. He goes, I'll give it some thought. All I said to him was, it's never been done before. And all I heard was, really? That's what made him want to do it. Anything that wasn't done.
Sure.
So that's how that originated. Then he started shooting vignettes. And it was so funny because I was on the baseball field and it was a baseball game and I'm hitting the ball way out there. Then they pan out and it's a little league team. Yeah, and then I was learning all about baseball. I was going to batting cages. I really went for it.
Sure.
And then one day Vince says, we got too much paint. He says, we got to get rid of 8 knuckleball sports because we got Doink, we got you, we got Gold Dust. And me, I was always funny with Vince. I said, get rid of Doink.
Yeah.
He laughed. So I went back to Brooklyn Brawler. I never not worked.
Gotcha.
So all the gimmicks. Just kept going. But, I think we covered every gimmick so far.
Yes. Yep. You got Kimchi. You got Abe Knuckleball Schwartz, Brawler. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, and you, like I said, you got it so into those characters. That's so great.
Oh my God! And I embraced every character.
Sure.
I did my best with every one that I had. But I don't think anybody else could say that in the company.
Sure.
That's why that picture I like so much. It's got all the characters in it, but the only thing that's missing is Doink.
Sure.
But that's okay.
Yeah, and it shows your legacy. I mean, that's so so great.
It shows the legacy.
Yeah.
So I hope you like the way we talked.
Yeah. No, everything's great. I just got one more final question, Steve, before I get out of here. We go home basically. Is there any advice or anything that you could say that somebody that's trying to make it, get into like any business, not just wrestling, but to follow their dreams and keep at it and push, to get like what you did, 32 years. That's so amazing.
The secret to success is never push against the grain. If you feel something is not the way you would want it, just do it because they asked you to do it. I was always a team player. One time Vince wanted somebody to put over I hate to say midget because I think that's...
Yeah, little person, I think, yeah. Yep.
The little person,
sure.
Whatever you want to call them. They wanted somebody to get beat by them. He walks in the dressing room, everybody puts their head down. I raise my hand. The little guy was going to wear the Macho Man mask.
Okay.
I'm saying to myself, I'm wrestling Macho Man.
Yep.
I wrestled Macho Man many times.
Did you?
And Macho Man went out with the guy.
Uh-huh.
So I had no problem with it at all. I thought it was you get more heat, which means being hated more by getting beat by a smaller person. I don't know what the proper word is now for.
Sure.
I don't want to say.
No.
You know how the world is now.
I understand. Yeah.
So I don't want to say anything that's not,
sure.
Yep. I have no disrespect for any type of for anybody or anything, and I don't want to say anything wrong.
Sure.
So, but all I have to say is do whatever asked of you and do it to the best of your ability and love what you're doing. If you don't love what you're doing, you will not be successful.
All right. Well, thanks again, Steve, for getting online with me and chatting today. I really appreciate it. And for my viewers out there, basically, hit the like button or subscribe to my channel. This will be on YouTube. And like I said, Steve, I really, really appreciate you doing this for me.
Yeah, I want to subscribe to it too. So
yeah,
I don't know how to do that.
I will. I'll let you know. Like I said, I've got to do a little bit of editing.
I'll hit subscribe. All I got to do is hit subscribe, right?
Yeah, it's just going to be like you go to YouTube. You'll put my name in, and it should pop up with the stuff. Mainly the stuff I've got on there right now is a lot of college projects that I did. There's one of them in there that you probably get a kick out of. Ironically, when I graduated, my final project was to take SummerSlam this year and basically try to put it in movie theaters because, the pandemic and everything had live shows down. Well, you know who Glacier is? The wrestler? Yes. He worked at my school. He was one of the...
I was just with Glacier in an autograph session.
Were you? Okay.
Yeah, about a month ago.
Yeah, he's a real nice guy, but he helped me out, and he really liked our project. Well, it was surprising to me. I get an email from the school, and WWE actually did that. They put SummerSlam into theaters along with it live, so that they made the extra money. It was like I said, I was proud that I kind of I don't want to say I came up with the idea, but they saw it all. I'm sure he probably shared it with somebody.
You think they saw it through you?
I think so. Like I said, they work pretty closely with Full Sail University.
Right.
Because that's where NXT was for a while. They were doing all their live shows with the students, letting them film it.
Right.
And Triple H, he set up office there, I think, for a while. But
all I can tell you is bigger things are happening that I can't mention right now.
Okay.
But it tops everything I just told you.
Awesome.